I decided it would be funny to read my old journals to you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm starting with my 2014 one. Okay, 9th of January. Got a phone call at work and was tannoyed to the office, and I've never seen Duncan look so flustered. He was like, Kezia, you have a call you might want to take. And I was like, is it the police? And he said, yeah, what happened? Basically, my phone was stolen. And this guy was so, like, hyped because the police were calling me at work. He was like, what have you done? There's this whole post from 19th of January when I stayed at Georgia's house. And the end of it just says, oh, and today's the day I tweeted Dan Flint a picture of my legs in the air and he replied. Okay, Kezia. 22nd of February. This is when I'm in LA, by the way. Luke slept in for ages, so I decided to go to the mall on my own. Ended up in Macy's looking at kids' clothes for almost an hour. Then I was walking around Forever 21 and I saw this really pretty woman looking at jewellery and holding necklaces against herself in the mirror. Then I realised it was Megan Camper, and I kept staring at her wondering if it was actually her, and I decided it wasn't. So I was queuing up downstairs and she was like 2 people behind me, and then I was 100% sure it was her. So naturally I started freaking out, wondering if Pete was there and stuff. And I left the shop and waited outside to see where she would go. But she was taking too long and I needed to poop. I needed to poop, so I left. But I went past the play area and looked for Pete, but I couldn't see him, so I carried on shopping. Had a Philly cheesesteak and strawberry lemonade at Charlie's. Then I popped in Sephora and didn't want anything, so I left. And as I was leaving the mall, I saw a short tattooed tanned man leaning against the play area and literally said out loud, "It's him!" Bear in mind, I was alone. And with no hesitation, I went over, and I was too scared to say his name, so I tapped his arm, which was really soft and warm. And he turned around, I was like, "Hi, Pete." I won't read the rest because it's probably embarrassing. 13th of March. I was hanging out with Luke and talking about the Fall Out Boy gig next week, and he was saying how when Pete crowd surfs, he's going to throw all the little girls out the way and shout, "You weren't even born before the hiatus." 11th of April 2014. I decided to buy Death of Anna and the main ticket off some girl on Twitter last night. It was only 15 quid, so I thought I might as well. As we crossed the road from the station, the first person I saw was John O'Callaghan. I told him I liked his long hair. I lied. It's so gross and greasy. Rude. As I left, Kennedy was outside dancing around with a CD and a Sharpie in the air. He's an odd one. 15th of April. Got home to find a new Nick Santino pre-order. One of them includes a pillowcase with a tooth on it. Question mark, question mark. 17th of April 2014. Me and Georgia are in Brighton seeing the main. Went back down to the beach and got chips, fish and mushy peas for £3.50. We'd been there about 15 minutes when the main walked past, so of course Georgia shouted "Bay" at them. Both Pat and Garrett turned around and I was wetted myself laughing. So I obviously then had to keep looking out for them to come back because we thought we might as well try and meet them. But I seriously needed to poop. And of course, as we were walking off, they came past. Typical. But as we neared the toilets, we saw Pat, Kennedy and Jared eating outside some fish and chip place. And I turned to Georgia and just said really loudly, "Do you got a bay?" We are idiots. Same night. John is on all the drugs. So this is me meeting John O'Callaghan. I said to him, "I heard rumours that you're bringing Nick Santino here." And he did a little smirk and I screamed, "I knew it!" And jumped up and down. And he laughed and was like, "No, seriously, we don't know yet. You're very excitable." I genuinely do not remember that. He said if it were up to him, he'd bring Nick. So I was like, "Who is it up to? I'll speak to them." Some of this stuff is so dumb. 2nd of May 2014. Had last night's pizza for breakfast. Who am I? Pete Wentz. What? 9th of May. We've gone to see Panic at the Disco. I honestly forget these things happen. The first support band, MT, were proper weird. The guy was a crazy mix between Danny Stevens and Hanson. Okay. At one point he jumped on the barrier, so Phoebe pushed my elbow into his willy. And he apparently looked down and said, "Hey, thanks for that." Then he shook Emily's hand and accidentally hit me in the face, and he apologised into the mic and hugged me. What? I literally forgot that that happened. This is sometime in May, around the 28th. We're in Barcelona. Mother asked for the dessert menu at the restaurant, but the guy obviously didn't speak any English and brought us the bill. 26th of June. Woke up in the middle of the night to a weird flapping sound. Discovered a massive moth/bird flapping like a cray-cray. What? And I freaked out and ran into the spare room to sleep. What? I'm pretty sure that wasn't a bird, Kezia. Oh, so these two boys were on the iPads looking particularly suspicious. So I took their iPad off them, went to the history, and all it said was hard poo. 30th of June. Got a sweet anonymous message today. Hi. Just dropping in to say, keep doing you because you're amazing, and I hope when I reach your age, which will be in 2 years, to be exact, I'm still as in love with music as you are. It's nice to know you have a great job and a lot of interesting things happening in your life, and you're still so devoted to bands. I don't know if this makes sense at all, but I just hope you stay that way until you're 95, because I sure hope you do. That's sweet. 6th of July, Hyde Park Festival. As we left the crowd, well, we left the Wheaters crowd, me and Amelia, from the other side of the park, all we heard was Backstreet's back, alright! And we looked at each other and just bolted. We genuinely were jumping over people and running across picnic blankets. We were so excited. We were literally leaping over other people. August 2014, and basically I went on a Trek America trip, and you had to go around introducing yourself, and you had to say your name and then a word that described you that started with the same letter as your name. And I said, I can't think of one. So my friend Harriet was like, how about kind Kezia? And I was like, but I'm not kind. Like, I wouldn't describe myself as a kind person. So then, like, they decided I was crazy with a K. There are two different groups. There are my group, and then there's another group of annoying people. So a couple of days later, we were in Tennessee, and this happened. So we're hanging out with these, like, hardcore rednecks with their moonshine. Things started to get a little loud, and someone from the camp came over to tell us to keep it down. And every few minutes, people just kept shushing, and they constantly aimed it towards my little group. So in the end, I said to this girl, I ain't being rude, yeah, but you really need to stop telling me to shush because it ain't me. And she was like, oh, I wasn't aiming at you, but you're in the middle. I'm not in the middle. The fire is in the middle. I made a point that I wasn't drinking and it was her and her friends making the noise. So she came over pretending to be all sorry and asked my name. Then she patted me on the head and was like, oh, lovely, lovely Kezia. And I was like, actually, it's kind Kezia. Which my group wet themselves over, and Lisa was like, go Kez! Then she said her name was Dommy and shook my hand. Then had the cheek to call JC boring because he was asleep and not drinking. So obviously I gave my speech about alcohol. My speech. And I stuck up for JC and felt super protective over him. She's such a little... Oh, twat. I was like, that doesn't even say a word. They all got drunker and louder, and in the end we went to bed and left them to it. She was such a knob, that girl. And in the morning, she saw me in the toilet and was so embarrassed and just, like, walked the other way. This is the same trip. This was such a funny holiday. I found JC's water gun on the side and started spraying it in Ree's face. And she was like, what is that? And JC was like, oh, there's bleach in there. And I cried my eyes out laughing. I literally sprayed bleach as I was face. Then we were just chilling in the on the bench, and JC was like, right, I'm going to hit the sack. And Ree pinched my leg and whispered, ball sack. And I screamed with laughter and nearly wet myself. I could not control it, and JC was so confused. Same trip. We're in Nashville now. Halfway through the dinner, Ree mentioned something about my cleavage and me and Harriet wet ourselves laughing. I cried my eyes out and this went on for about 10 minutes, and every time I stopped she would start me back up again. JC was watching us and laughing and looked over at me and said, "Kezia, you're awesome." Oh, that was so funny. Honestly, me and my friend couldn't finish our dinner because we were crying, like wetting ourselves laughing for the whole dinner. Like everyone finished and paid, and like we had half our meal there because we couldn't eat it. 20th of September, I'm at my friend's party, and I'd met these people that night. Then Neil came in and was like, "Bye, teacher lady. It was lovely meeting you. You have the best laugh." And Laura was like, "I want to come here more often if you're going to be here." Oh, I love it when people love me. What day is this? 5th of September. Chloe just FaceTimed me, so I pressed the green button and all I could see was Nick Santino's eye. He was wetting himself laughing. Oh yeah, he answered the FaceTime like this. And the connection was bad. He asked what I was up to and I said I was going to bed, and he was like, "Did you just call me a bitch?" Yep. 10th of October. I'm at a Nick Santino gig. Saw him at Merch after his set and asked him why he didn't play Jackson Browne. And he said, "I specifically remember you saying you weren't coming tonight, so I was saving it for Saturday." Okay. This is the next day at another Nick Santino gig. When he first walked on stage, Peter Sellers shouted from Merch, "Yeah, rocket to the moon!" I'm trying to find a certain thing in here about Jackson Browne, which is why I read the previous thing, but I didn't write about it, which is weird for me. But basically, he played Jackson Browne the next night, and he started in the wrong key and had to start again. And then after the show, he was like, "I was so nervous about playing Jackson Browne for you that I messed up." And I was just like, "Oh, bless you." But I didn't write about that, which is random. 24th of November. Met up with Jade, Cena and Phoebe in Kingston and ended up queuing in the disabled toilet for 30 minutes at least in McDonald's. 2 nerdy girls were in front of us. And one of them said to me, "Did you go to the McBusted side?" And I told her I was going to the 8 PM one, and she was like, "Oh, well, if you ask them for a high five, they give you one." And I just stared at her awkwardly and said, "Cool." Then I looked at Jade, and she was clearly trying not to laugh, and we couldn't hold it any longer, and we literally burst into tears. Phoebe and Poppy were first, and Danny pointed at Phoebe's wedding ring and was like, "What's that?" And she was like, "Ah, my wedding ring." Then he was excited because Poppy had one too, and Phoebe was like, "Yeah, she married my brother." And I was like, "Yeah, and she nearly went out with my brother." And Danny was like, "Oh, whoa, 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 stop messing around with each other's brothers." Apparently, when Phoebe asked Harry how it was going, he said, "To be honest, I'm running out of banter." This is when they did like a 10-hour sign-in. Like literally, it was like maybe 8 hours. I somehow ended up talking to him about Matthew, and I said he was supposed to come, and Harry was like, "Where is he?" "He's probably at home knocking one out." I forgot that happened. Oh my days. And I was like, "Don't say that. I've known him since birth." "You've known him since birth? Are you his mum?" What? Oh, that was so funny. I love Harry Judd. 20th of December 2014. Went out to Winter Wonderland in the evening. We lasted about half an hour before we ended up in a pub playing Don't Show Keith Your Teeth, and literally cried our eyes out laughing. Such a lovely catch up. They've nicknamed me Nan, okay? So that's still a thing in 2016. Thanks, guys. Amelia got super drunk and tweeted all these band members about their parents. At John Main. Hi, Joan. How's your mum, Jenny? At Jack All Time Low. Dear Jack Barracat, how's your mum, Gladys? At Jack All Time Low. I mean Joyce. At Nick Santino, how's your dad Bernard, and a photo of me crying. Then she tweeted him, marry Grandma Marquez, with a photo of me. I sat there crying with laughter, couldn't even breathe. It's funny because Nick sees all his replies. That was such a funny night. And that's going to be the end of this video because I feel like this is really long. I'll just do 2015 and 2016 in a separate video because I didn't realise how long this would be. But I don't know, even if this was enjoyable, but I thought it was funny. That's all that matters, really, isn't it? See you later.